Hello and welcome to the programme.
Coming up tonight.
I'll make you so bloody sick. You will wonder what the hell is going on.
Caught on camera and now facing jail, the married couple who racially abused a nurse in a Halifax park.
15-year-old Grace has epileptic seizures lasting hours at a time. Now her family's fighting for treatment which could save her life.
I can't go out with me. I don't have any friends.
Feline fine, how this Barnsley grandma faces a £2,000 penalty if she doesn't stop feeding wild cats.
And sketchy character, hundreds of pictures drawn by Britain's most notorious prisoner went on sale in York today.
Thanks for joining us. An immigrant and a slave. The abusive comments hurled at a nurse by a married couple in their 70s as she walked with her daughter through a park in Halifax.
Fiona and Michael Bairstow admitted racial abuse at Bradford magistrates this morning after their tirade against Applemore House was captured on film last summer.
Mrs Morehouse is originally from the Philippines and worked for the NHS after becoming a British citizen 13 years ago. Katie Oscroft reports.
Are in trouble, believe you me.
Fiona and Michael Bairstow turned on Applemore House when she asked them to put their dog on a lead.
Back on the boat. Yes. Boat. Row the boat.
The couple were in Manor Heath Park in Halifax in August last year. Mrs Morehouse was there too, with her father and daughter.
Have you got a rubber boat?
Oh, you did?
Did you come across the channels?
Do you know what you are? That is what we call slavery. Because people like you are the only people that will look after everybody. You are, and I'm going to get you, and I'm going to make you really know.
Applemore House became a British citizen in 2013, passing an exam called Life in the UK. Her children were born here.
I've been here for since 2009 and I never had anything like this before. 10 years back then. It was fine, but now it's got worse because of obviously all these dinghy boats, and then on that day he just took everything on me.
Today, the Bairstows pleaded guilty in court to racially aggravated assault. Michael Bairstow also admitted assaulting another woman who tried to intervene.
Now just shut up. Okay. I'll make you so bloody sick. You will wonder what the hell is going on.
The couple left court not so willing to show their faces and refused to comment about what they'd done. Have you got anything to say to Applemore House? Why did you say all that? Are you racist? District Judge Alexander Boyd adjourned this case until the 16th of April. Fiona and Michael Bairstow were granted bail on condition they stay away from the park where it happened and from Applemore House. They've been warned that when they return here for sentencing, they could be sent to jail. Applemore House has not felt able to return to the job she loves since this happened.
I feel so scared. Caring, that was my passion, you see. But it was just hard now to just to go back to it after what happened.
I'm the immigrant.
Yeah. You know, I look after you. Yeah, I'm a healthcare.
I feel anxious, obviously. So every time that I think back, I still make me feel upset. But at least they're gonna get what they deserve, I suppose.
Apple left court today relieved at the guilty pleas, but says she now feels less safe. Katie Oscroft, ITV News.
To our next story now. For the first 8 years of her life, Grace Pagden was a happy and sociable child. And then, out of the blue, she began having epileptic seizures. These seizures became steadily worse to the point where they can now last for more than 10 hours at a time.
Well, the impact it's had on Grace and her family can't be overstated. She lives an isolated life at their home in Sheffield under constant supervision. unable to do things that other teenagers simply take for granted.
But there is hope in the form of pioneering treatment known as deep brain stimulation. It comes at a price, though, with a £40,000 price tag, because it's currently not available on the NHS. Martin Fisher has her story, and his report does include footage of her seizures used with the family's permission.
15-year-old Grace watching the video her mother has made. Part of an online appeal to raise £40,000 for an operation that could change forever what has been a very difficult childhood. The teenager has a rare form of epilepsy, with seizures going on for up to 13 hours a day.
When she goes into seizure, she could be in it for 2 hours. We give her medication. She can come round for an hour and a half. She can have something to eat. Then the next thing, she's slumped over, having more seizures. And she could be in it again for another 2 hours, 3 hours. Then she comes round for maybe 15 minutes. And this can go on all day.
Grace's condition has robbed her of a normal childhood since her seizures began when she was 8.
I can't go out with mates. I don't have any friends.
How does that make you feel, Grace?
Lonely.
A&E knows very well. My wife just goes in to sort of bring her bed out straight into the resus area. Then they sort of treat her with these other sort of IV medicines and hopefully bring her round.
Grace is just crying to me all the time, asking me, Mummy, why has this happened to me? Why does nobody like me? Why can't I have a sleepover? Why can't I go for a walk on my own, Mum? And I'm like, trying to explain to your child, you know, it's not your fault.
Sometimes I lose my speech.
Yeah.
So it's hard to speak to people.
Are you aware of what's happening at the time?
Yes.
What scares you about it when this is happening to you?
Everything about it.
But things could be about to change. Grace has been given the go-ahead for potential life-changing surgery at King's College in London. But it comes with a £40,000 price tag, as the procedure isn't available on the NHS.
And I think what it's meant to do is when the seizure starts, it notices seizure trying to get further along and it just tries to stop it.
So Grace's family have set up a GoFundMe page. If successful, the operation could radically reduce the number of seizures she suffers.
If it could give me a normal life, then maybe I could make friends and go out with them.
A chance then for Grace to live the life she's always wanted, if enough money can be raised. Martin Fisher, ITV News in Sheffield.
And of course we wish Grace all the best. You can see more on Grace's story and her fundraising campaign for that treatment in London on our website. The address on the screen there now.
Thank you for watching Wednesday night's calendar. Still to come before 6:30.
I think that is vindictive. I think it's cruel.
There's anger over a major development in the Sheffield Wednesday takeover saga. Chris will be here shortly to bring us up to date.
And it was bright and blustery today, nice in the sunshine, cold in the wind. It's going to feel very different tomorrow. All the detail a little later on.
Two senior army officers have been in court over charges brought following the death of Jaisley Beck, a soldier from Bradford, who took her own life after she was sexually assaulted.
Colonel Samantha Shepherd and Major James Hook denied charges when they appeared at the Military Court Centre at Catterick Garrison today. Stacey Foster reports.
It's now been more than 4 years since Jaisley Beck took her own life at Larkhill Barracks in Wiltshire after she was sexually assaulted by a more senior officer. The inquest into her death concluded that it was the Army's failure to take her complaints seriously and act on them that contributed to her decision. And today, two senior officers in Gunner Beck's chain of command appeared in court today, charged with conduct prejudicial to good order and discipline. They both pleaded not guilty to the charges they face. Major James Hook is accused that on the 13th of July 2021 he didn't treat information given to him by Jaisley Beck seriously, and Colonel Samantha Shepherd is charged with 2 counts. The first, that she didn't report the incident to the military police. The second, that she misreported the complaint by Jaisley Beck to her superiors. She pleaded not guilty to both of those charges. Jaisley Beck's family were in court today, albeit online, because the whole hearing was carried out digitally today over the internet. All the barristers, the defendants and even the judge advocate in this place appearing via video link, but the family were able to observe proceedings online. The judge advocate set a provisional trial date of the 14th of September in this case. It'll either take place here or at the military court in Bulford in the south. And we were told that the trial that takes place in September will be heard in front of the judge advocate and a board panel of 3 members. It's expected to last for 5 days.
Stacey Foster reporting there from Catterick Garrison. A man from Leeds has admitted goading a vulnerable man in the US into taking his own life over a video call. Travis Dyer shot himself in Louisiana in October 2024. Dylan Phelan, who's 21 and from Morley, appeared at Leeds Crown Court today, admitting a charge of assisting suicide. A judge told him to expect to be jailed when he's sentenced in May.
Well, next to the grandma in Barnsley, who could end up being fined £2,500 for feeding stray cats.
Colette Bowler, who helps run a local cafe, puts out food twice a day for the animals on an industrial estate in Thurnske. But the council has now served her a written warning asking her to stop.
Comes after a local business complained that more and more stray cats are being attracted to the area by food, causing a health and safety risk to their staff. Ben Basin has the story.
Come on, then.
Twice a day, every day for 20 years, Colette has fed these stray cats on a local industrial estate. But not any longer. Today, she was joined by her granddaughter to put out food, so she didn't breach a written warning from the council. What started with a few scraps of food when she was delivering sandwiches to local businesses has turned into part of her daily routine.
I treat them as though they're my own cats. I just feel so sorry that they're feral, they're out in freezing cold, all through winter. I come every single day to feed them, twice a day, even Christmas Day, Boxing Day, when I'm on holiday. I arrange for my daughter to come and feed them. I've been to the vets and bought tablets and medicine for them when they've had sticky eyes and they've been limping. It's absolutely devastated me that it's come to this.
It was earlier this month when Colette received a visit from the council, who served her with a written warning telling her to stop feeding the cats. It's the first step towards enforcement action, which, if she's not compliant, could see her fined up to £2,500.
I'm really upset about it. It's making me ill. I can't sleep, I can't eat, and it's. I never wanted all this to happen. All I wanted to do was to be able to come up and feed my cats like I have done for 20 years.
She's absolutely devastated. I don't even know why they've done it. It's not hurting no one. She helps flee them and capture what she can, but with them being feral, I think she does what she can. She tries keeping them fed and clean.
Well, I've just had a conversation with a business owner who reported Colette to the council. Now, they say these stray cats have been using their property as a litter tray, and it's causing a real health and safety risk to their staff, and that it's got considerably worse over the last couple of years. Now, they say they've asked Colette to stop feeding the cats because they think that it's encouraging them to stay around in this area.
Cats are going to do that whether I feed them or not. It's what cats do. They go to the toilet in sand, and it's just what cats do. And I don't think that me stopping them will stop them doing that.
Come on, get your dinner.
Barnsley Council say they recognise Colette has been acting with good intentions out of concern for animal welfare, but that they've acted to protect local businesses, people working in the area and the animals involved. For Colette, though, leaving her beloved cats without food is unthinkable. She's urging the council to reconsider what she sees as a punishment for 2 decades of loving care. Ben Mason, ITV News, Thurnske.
Yes, I wonder what you think about that story. Do let us know. OK, it is time for some sport now, and the prospective new owners of Sheffield Wednesday have been named.
Empowering local sport in the community. Octopus Energy sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
Yes, the Owls have announced that a company called Arise Capital Partners, comprising of father and son David and Michael Storch, along with Tom Costin, are the new preferred bidders for the club.
Yes, it comes 2 weeks after the previous bidders withdrew from the process of buying Wednesday. Well, our sports correspondent Chris Dawkes joins us in the studio now. Good evening, Chris. What do we know about the potential new owners then?
Well, Lara, we know they're very wealthy American businessmen. Now, David Storch is an aviation executive said to be worth around £80 million. His son, Michael, works within the family's investment activities. And Tom Costin, well, he's got previous experience of football investment as well. Now, Tom Costin and Storch Sr. were actually at Hillsborough last night to watch Wednesday almost win only their second championship match of the season. Only a stoppage time equaliser from Watford denied them that. But beforehand, they spoke with the Sheffield Wednesday Supporters Trust, amongst others, who told me they were impressed with what they heard.
They were interested in what us as fans had to offer and our views of what had gone wrong in previous years and what could be improved. They were passionate about Sheffield Wednesday. They spoke about attending the game against Norwich at home in November and being blown away by there being 28,500 fans there on a cold November evening with a team that was obviously struggling under the weight of the point deductions applied by the EFL. So it was a really great meeting, and the early signs are incredibly positive for Sheffield Wednesday.
Well, I think it's fair to say, Chris, that the Owls need a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. Do you think this is it, though?
Well, it could be, Michael. Yeah, it's been a very long and dark tunnel those Sheffield Wednesday fans have been in, hasn't it? Let's not forget they've been in administration since last October. That's a long time. But in the statement that the club released last night, it said that the Football League, that's the EFL, has advised them that they're willing to work as quick as possible to get all the relevant checks sorted to push this takeover through. They also said the new offer is less than what is required to pay creditors. Now, that's those who owed money to owed money by Sheffield Wednesday, that's 25 pence in the pound. Now, that's a significant threshold as far as the Football League are concerned. They say that any offer below 25p in the pound would incur a 15-point penalty next season. Now, sports finance expert Dan Plumley says that's a small price to pay if the new owners can bring a clear plan to the club.
Worry is for the on-pitch side of things, that there might be a further points deduction. But, again, I think for a lot of fans in this one, a fresh start is better than anything. So I think it's one of those at the minute where, it's there and is a risk. But in the bigger picture, I think the main thing is that this football club gets a new owner, and that new owner has a plan and a plan to take this club forward in the future.
But Chris, there could be yet further restrictions for the club, couldn't there?
Yeah, we know about that 15-point penalty that could be incurred next year. The EFL could also restrict Wednesday spending around about £7 million in total on player wages next season, with a cap of £7,000 per player. Now, as you can imagine, the fans aren't happy with that, and they fear that could realistically jeopardise any takeover going forward.
Well, what happens then if the Storch Costin group decide, no, actually, we're not going to buy Sheffield Wednesday? Okay, and what happens under the constraint of that restriction with wage bill and a 15-point deduction? Sheffield Wednesday gets no bidder to come in and take the place. Well, I'll tell you what the result is then. The result will be the liquidation and the cease of existence of one of the oldest football clubs in the world. And the EFL seem to accept that and believe that it's okay to have that as a possibility. I think that is vindictive. I think it's cruel. I think it's making a fan base and a community that has suffered enough suffer even more.
Yeah, we've been in touch with the EFL, and a spokesperson has told me that the club has been aware for some time that they're subject to a fee restriction until January 2027. Of course, that's next year, and that any exit from administration will see the club subject to a business plan, which includes what a club spend on players and wages. The EFL also say they're willing to discuss this approach with the administrators and preferred bidders on how the club exits administration.
OK, what about elsewhere then? Sheffield United need to get that right at playing tonight, aren't they?
They are, Lara, yes. The Blaze travel to Norwich this evening with hopes still of maybe sneaking into the Championship playoffs, whereas Bradford are at FA Cup giant killers Port Vale looking to consolidate their spot in the League One playoffs. Meanwhile, last night, Barnsley came from a goal down to earn a draw at home to Cardiff. Doncaster were also losing 1-0 before Brandon Hanlon struck a second-half equaliser, and Mansfield were 1-0 winners over Reading thanks to Louis Reed's deflected effort from the edge of the box. And finally from me, a group of charity cyclists were in the region today as part of a 750-mile challenge, raising money for research into motor neurone disease. Former Scotland Rugby Union captain Rob Wainwright led the team out of Headingley at 6 a.m. this morning. Headingley, of course, the spiritual home of Leeds Rhinos legend Rob Burrow, who died from MND 2 years ago. The riders are taking part in Doddy's Triple Crown 2026, named after Doddy Weir, the former Scotland Rugby Union player who also passed away from MND in 2022. That challenge will finish in Dublin on Friday. And you know what? They've already passed their target of £1 million. They did that on the first day.
It's phenomenal, isn't it? What an
Really
incredible
is.
effort.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thanks a lot.
Chris, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Now he's widely regarded as Britain's most violent and dangerous prison inmate, a reputation earned through almost 5 decades of attacks, sieges and hostage-taking while behind bars.
But Charles Bronson, who now goes by the rather apt moniker Salvador, is also something of an artist, and a fairly prolific one at that.
Yes, today a collection of his drawings went on sale in York, and despite an offer of £90,000, the auction failed to reach the asking price. Here's John Hill.
He is a notoriously violent offender, a man who spent 5 decades in jail, lengthy lockdowns in solitary confinement, the price for taking prison staff and inmates hostage, time and again. Charles Bronson, or as he calls himself, Charles Salvador, prisoner and artist.
Something that we see in many of them is this porridge motif of 50 years of porridge, for example, and I'm sure you can see why.
Charles Bronson has, as they say in prison parlance, done a lot of porridge. And today at this York auction house, 500 of his prison sketches, drawings and doodles went up for sale. But it's not the man himself who was selling them.
Bronson has nothing to do with this whatsoever. We selling this on the behalf of the vendor, who has spent sort of 20-odd years or so collecting these works, either from auctions or from the registered charity. This sort of art is what we call outsider art.
Outsider is just one word that's been applied to Bronson. There are others. He was described as wild when he was first jailed for armed robbery. In 1990, he was filmed on the roof of Strangeways Prison during the riots. A decade later, he held an art teacher hostage at Hull Prison for 44 hours.
My name's Charles Bronson.
But notoriety became some kind of celebrity when his life was turned into a film, the title role played by Tom Hardy. Now, as Bronson's art takes centre stage, he's making a 9th bid for parole, and he can boast some famous supporters.
Hey Charlie, Tyson Fury here, your old mate. Long time no see. I hope you're doing really well, buddy, and it's time now to get out of them places.
So could he really be freed? Full Sutton Prison near York was just one of those top security jails where he's been held over the years. This report by the parole board from 3 years ago said he should remain behind bars, but perhaps not in such stringent conditions. And it paints a striking picture of a man who claims he'll pose no risk to the public if and when he's released from jail. In 2018, it says, he greased himself with margarine so he could fight prison warders. He had to be restrained. He later described the fight as a rumble and brilliant. Back at the auction, Bronson's art failed to sell. It simply didn't reach the reserve price. As for whether its creator will one day walk free, only time and the parole board will tell. John Hill, ITV News.
So it failed to sell. I wonder if it'll go back on sale then.
Possibly. I'm sure there's lots of people that have got some interest in that for some strange sort of curiosity. So anyway, Kez is here.
Hi.
What
nice
have you got
today.
What have you got
it?
for us? Something
it
a
was
bit more
blustery.
Okay.
Blustery is the weather word today, but at least we got some sunshine for today. The rooks are nesting high. Apparently, according to weather folklore, that means we're getting a dry and warm summer. So let's just listen to the folklore, yeah?
Right, hold on to that.
Yeah, well, the rooks need to take care of these nests because we've got some really strong winds as we head through into tomorrow. We've got a weather warning in place now from 5 o'clock this morning all the way through tomorrow for some really quite strong gusts, particularly down the eastern slopes of our Pennines. Lee gusts, lee meaning downwind of higher ground, and gust obviously temporary increase in wind strength. And it's basically the air being pushed right over the tops of the Pennines and coming down the eastern slopes, and it almost doubles in size if you think about the strength of the wind. So we could be looking at gusts in excess of 60 miles an hour. Where we don't have the lee gusts, so if you're not down the eastern slopes of the Pennines, we've also got some very strong winds. I often talk about squally winds. It means sudden sharp increase in wind but lasting longer, at least a minute, and that means we could get what we call a squall line or a convergence line, where we've got a southwesterly meeting a northwesterly, some intense rain, could be some hail in there, and yes, some strong and gusty winds for us all, some horrible driving conditions. Here's your forecast.
Today's forecast: seafood and sugar cube towns. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Yes, we did okay. Sunny spells, feeling nice and warm in the sunshine, but if you were out of the sunshine today and exposed to that wind, already feeling quite chilly. Actually, as we head through into tomorrow, where it will be unsettled, we're importing slightly mild and quite humid air with those strong winds and spells of heavy and intense rain. But after that system pushes through tomorrow, we import our air from an Arctic origin. It's going to feel much colder by the time we reach Friday. In the meantime, for this evening, the best of the clear spells. As the night wears on, the cloud thickens, the winds gather strength, really becoming quite strong, gusty, blustery, particularly for the hills and the coast by the time we reach dawn. And all that going on, nothing too chilly. Lows perhaps initially of 4 or 5 Celsius. So little in the way of sunshine. Best chance first thing in the morning. 6:29 and 6:04 are your Thursday sun times. A lot of cloud around tomorrow. The emphasis on those strong winds and spells of rain forming in bands, in lines, intense, accompanied by strong to gale force gusts and moving from northwest to southeast during the day. So temperatures pretty academic, but they are above average, 12 or 13 Celsius. As that system pushes through, we start to introduce the colder air as we head into Friday. Sunny spells, scattered showers, highs of 8 or 9 on the thermometer, feeling more like 1 or 2 Celsius. And then behind this system, which could bring something a tiny bit wintry over the hills, but mostly the risk of some frost and maybe ice for Saturday. Saturday is the best day of the weekend. A wet and windy spell on Sunday, hopefully during the morning, and better for the afternoon.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
There you go. Warmer, wetter, or colder and sunnier. Which one would you have? Friday for me.
Probably colder.
Yeah, I'm going
colder
Friday.
Sunnier, that's what
Dry is all I need. That's all I need. That's it for now. Emma Wilkinson is back at 10:30. Mary Nightingale is next. Thanks very much indeed for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye.